this video, we're going to be talking about solving multi-step equations. So remember, by solving multi-step equations, whenever you're solving an equation, the ultimate goal is for you to be solving the value for x. So here are our steps that are listed for whenever we do solve multi-step equations. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up to number 1. So for number 1, we have 4x plus 6 minus 2x equals 14. So you need to start off by adding a line through your equal sign. So remember to think of this line as a mirror. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So here, step 1 tells us to distribute. So we know that if we are doing distribution, that means we are looking for parentheses. And again, distribution means multiplication. So if you look at number 1, I do not have any parentheses. So I'm going to move on to step 2, and we are going to combine like terms on each side. So if you remember your notes, whenever we covered simplifying algebraic expressions, combining like terms, the first step is to group your terms by their variable. Now remember, your variables are the letters. So here we have 4x. So I want to group with 4x another x. So here I have minus 2x. So 4x minus 2x, and then we have plus 6 left over on the left. Now on the right, I have nothing to combine, so I'm just going to bring down the 14. So next, we're still combining like terms. We need to simplify. We need to simplify into a single term. So 4x minus 2x, you have 2x. And then you're going to bring down the 6, and this is equal to 14. Okay. Then step 3 says move your variables to one side. So here I have my variable x on the left, and if you notice that all my x's are already on the left side. So next we go to step 4, which is to move our constants to the other side. So here I have 6 being added to our variable. So I want to move it over to the other side, and I'm now going to subtract 6 from both sides. So here, your 6's cancel out, and you are left with 2x equals 14 minus 6. Now, 14 minus 6 equals 8. Now, step 5 tells us we want to multiply by our denominator or divide by our coefficient. Now, we look at our variable x, and we have the number 2 in front. 2 and x are multiplying each other, so we want to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So we will divide by our coefficient, which here is going to be 2. So we divide by 2 on both sides. Our 2's cancel out. We're left with x equals 8 divided by 2, which equals 4. X equals 4. Okay, next let's look at number 2. So, of course, add a line through your equal sign. And for number 2, we have 0 equals negative 3n plus 12 minus 9n. So our first step is to distribute. So I do not see any parentheses here that indicate to us that we need to multiply. So we're going to move on to step 2, which is to combine like terms on each side. So here there's nothing besides 0 on the left, so I'm going to copy 0. And we have negative 3n. Remember, whenever we're combining like terms, we start off by grouping. So I can group negative 9n with negative 3n. And I know I do not have any more n's, so now I'm going to bring down the plus 12. Now we simplify. I have 0 equals negative 3n minus 9n is negative 12n. And I'm going to bring down the plus 12. Okay, so step 3 tells us to move our variables to one side. So here I already have my variables on the right side. So I want to move my constants to the other side. So here I have 12 being added to my variable. So to undo addition, we have to subtract 12 on both sides. So 0 minus 12 is negative 12. And this equals, my 12's cancel out here. And you're just left with negative 12n. So one last step, we want to either multiply by our denominator or divide by our coefficient. If you look at our variable here, it's being multiplied by negative 12n. So I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication, and I'm going to divide by negative 12 on both sides. So here, negative 12 divided by negative 12. Remember, a negative divided by a negative equals a positive. So here, negative 12 divided by negative 12 equals 1. And 1 equals, my negative 12s cancel out, and you're left with 1 equals n. But remember, it's more proper to write your variable first, so n equals 1. Okay, then we have number 3. We have 2, and then in parentheses, x plus 5 plus 3x equals 20. So step 1 tells us to distribute. First, make sure you add a line through your equal sign. But to distribute, you need to make sure that whenever we distribute, we see parentheses. So we have to multiply everything inside the parentheses by a positive 2. Now you need to make sure that if this were negative 2, you need to make sure you multiply everything by negative 2, not just a positive 2. But this is positive 2. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3x equals 20. So now step 2, we want to combine like terms on each side. So your first step with combining like terms is grouping your variable by letter. So here I have 2x, and I can group 3x with 2x, so 2x plus 3x, and then you're left with plus 10 equals 20. Now we want to simplify into a single term. 2x plus 3x, you now have 5x, plus 10 equals 20. So now we want to move our variables to one side. So all of my variables are already on the left. And so I want to move my constants over to the other side. So right now I have 10 being added. So I want to do the opposite, and I want to subtract 10 on both sides. So subtracting 10, this cancels out. You're left with 5x equals 20 minus 10, which is 10. So now my last step is going to be to divide by my coefficient, because remember, 5 and x are multiplying each other. So I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. My 5s are canceled out, and I'm left with x equals 10 divided by 5, which is a positive 2. So here my answer is x equals 2. Okay, lastly we have number 4, negative 3x plus 5, parentheses x plus 3 equals 23. So again, go ahead and start off by drawing a line through your equal sign. And we have negative 3x. And my first step was to distribute. So here I do see parentheses. And that does mean multiplication. So 5 times x is 5x, so plus 5x. And 5 times 3 is 15, so plus 15 equals 23. Now we do know that whenever our step 2 is to combine like terms, our first step is to group our terms by their variable. So looking here, it's already grouped for you. Our variables are together, and then our constants singled out, and now we can simplify. So negative 3x plus 5x. So negative 3 plus 5 is a positive 2x. I'm going to bring down the 15, and this equals 23. So now I have 2x plus 15 equals 23. So step 3 tells us to move our variables to one side. All of our variables are already on one side. So now we want to move our constant to the other side. So right now I have 15 being added to my variable. So I need to do the opposite, and I need to subtract 15 from both sides. So this cancels out. You're just left with 2x equals 23 minus 15, which is a positive 8. Now my last step is to divide by my coefficient, because 2 and x are multiplying each other. So divide by 2 on both sides. We now have x equals 4. Okay, so that was solving multi-step equations.